Well, hello there, my fine viewers. How's it going? It's been 47 years, or at least that's the way it has felt. But we are finally back with the No Water playthrough part 2. Today you can be looking forward to such exciting things as running, flying, and more running. So, why don't we get started? Before we begin though, I would like to do a little something called the Can You Guess How I Put Down the Mobile Vehicle Bay? Because after the ending of the last video, well, let's just say that every single one of you left a guess down in the comments. And so, first I actually at least want to go through the majority of the attempts I tried and just tell you that they don't work. Maybe if I spam the build button a lot. Maybe if I build in the alien moon pool. Maybe if I build inside of my own alien containment tank. Maybe if I flood my base and build it there. Maybe if I build it in the Lost River Grime. Maybe if I build in a lava. Maybe if I build in the Sea Emperor's tank. Maybe if I do the water glitch so that I'm technically not in water even though I am in water and then deploy it. Maybe if I flood a moon pool. Yeah, so no, and no. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be any method to 100% legit use the mobile vehicle bay without water. One of the modders in my server actually even went into the game's code to look for any sort of loophole that we could find. And even though we do have this one cursed image, technically the base is flooded there, so it is using water anyway. And thus, if you want to, this is technically the point where you could say, no, Subnautica cannot be completed without water.
However,
before you go and do that, there is kind of a way to make it work. So, step 1, find a nice place on the map and prepare to deploy. Step 2, quit the game and disable the mod. Step 3, jump in, smash that left mouse button to deploy, immediately quit out. Step 4, and step 5, profit. There we go. So, yes, technically you could say that there was some use of water, but look, it's about as good as it's gonna get, and I really want to continue this series, so let's just move on. Oh yeah, by the way, while I was doing all of this, I somehow managed to open my build menu while loading. Don't question that too much. Alright, so with the mobile vehicle base deployed, the first order of business that I wanted to do was to actually go collect parts for the Cyclops submarine and hopefully also for the propulsion cannon, both of which will come in very handy later in the game. The journey there was, as you could expect, perilous, but also quite uneventful, mostly just walking, get ready for a lot of that, as well as dodging a couple of tiger plants along the way, but nothing too bad. That was up until the point where I actually realized that the Aurora was still intact, and thus I did not have the blueprints for the radiation suit, and thus I couldn't actually go up to it. So, okay, are there any other places where the Cyclops might be found? As it turns out, there are, and it's in the mushroom forests. I went in, found the cured peeper, took it, and of course released it because I'm not a monster, and I looked as hard as I could for any Cyclops parts around, and let me tell you, this was definitely not easy. I mean, it's even quite hard in the base game when you can actually float above the place and look down. But having to just walk and basically only see within like the 10-meter radius around you made this exceptionally challenging. At one point or another, I also made my way all the way to the mountain island. I was really scared because I was thinking that the Reaper that usually hangs around there would ambush me at any point, but for some reason it just didn't show up. I'm not really sure what happened to it. Maybe it fell through the map, but it was not there. So I Skyrimmed around a little bit just to be safe and then get on the way. Ooh, that's very close. Wait, what's that bright light? Okay, so the Aurora has officially exploded now, which means I have the radiation suit. Awesome. But I still wanted parts for the propulsion cannon, and I was told those are around the floating islands. Now you can imagine my disappointment and surprise when I arrived there and realized that because they're floating, they're basically completely off limits and I wouldn't be able to get on them anyway. So, okay, the list just keeps getting longer. Okay, why don't we instead go into the alien gun if I'm already here? I put the tablet in, explored the insides, and took all of the ion cubes. Those will definitely come in handy later. I also went through, telepathically levitated my alien key, and unlock the final room, which we would need to get into anyways eventually, so I figured we might as well do it, and I also got stabbed, which is nice. I do have to note that with all of this running, I was actually getting a lot better at the parkour aspect of everything, which definitely showed also in the inside of these bases. Alright, having returned to my personal base, the next task was the radiation suit. Now, for that, I would need some fiber mesh, so it was back into the legendary kelp forest. Chop, 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 and there goes my radiation suit. Alright, with this bad boy equipped, it was time to head out for the big guns, and by that I mean actually just the Aurora. My plan here was to go to the back of the Aurora, try to find more Cyclops parts, and hopefully even find more stuff for the propulsion cannon. So I walked, and walked, and I walked some more. I found this cool wreck, but unfortunately it seems like the aliens had already looted it before me because there's absolutely nothing there. And then I approached the legendary mountains. Now, many Subnautica players have had, I'm sure, very traumatic experiences around these mountains, so let's just say my butt cheeks were definitely clenched as I approached the edge. Seeing the Reaper in the distance was definitely not something that gave me a lot of confidence, but luckily the closer I got, the more they just appeared to fall through the ground, and at the end of the day, none of them actually ended up posing any real danger. Now granted, this area does have some pretty funky collision on a bunch of these rocks, not sure why that is happening, but it made the initial part of the exploration quite difficult. And the night fell. I mean, again, this felt more like Fallout than Subnautica because of all the wreckage. I mean, if you had told me this is some cool glowing sea mod, I might even believe you. But at last, I was able to get the Cyclops Bridge. I continued exploring around, getting a ton of batteries, but nothing really exciting happened, so I'm just gonna skip on past it. Now at this point, I was considering whether I would actually be able to make my way around the Aurora from the back, since I knew that area would have a few more resources. Funny enough, some of the crevices there certainly made it seem like it was intended to be navigated on foot, but then some of the funky collisions definitely made sure you knew that it wasn't. Man, okay, that's a pretty big drop. Should I really go down there? I don't think I'd be able to get back up. And then I saw it, the propulsion cannon, which immediately changed my mind from I'm not going down there to we're definitely going down there. Okay, so the key to success in this kind of situation is to be very gentle and not slide down. There we go. Nice and easy. And completely safe. Okay. And that's the propulsion cannon. With this bad boy finally in my hands, I made my way back to my base, and I figured we'd be ready to explore the rest of the Aurora. In the interest of time, why don't you enjoy this bit of footage of me walking back to my base, with some calming music in the background. Beep boop bop, and there was the propulsion cannon, and I also figured it might actually be a good idea to craft the laser cutter, since we would probably need to get through a whole bunch of doors over there in the Aurora. With water and provisions out of the way, I was finally ready to embark on the epic adventure to explore the large ship with absolutely no water in the world. Now as I walked into the sunset towards the Aurora, I started asking myself the one question that I'm sure all of you are asking yourselves as well. How in the heck am I going to get into the Aurora without water? Well, worry not, I have a plan. Now approaching the Aurora really puts this ship into perspective. I feel like when you're swimming around it feels smaller, but actually having to walk the distance really made you appreciate just how big some of these hunks of metal were. To get off of the ground, I started climbing this little cage, if you will, that wraps around the hull of the Aurora. And this actually turned out pretty easy. It has solid collision, and I was able to make it onto the first platform. Now at this point you might be thinking, that's it. I mean, there's no way to proceed further. You can't keep climbing the cage and there's no way to jump up that high. Well, you see, there's one more thing I crafted besides the propulsion cannon before coming here, and that is an air bladder. Why would I craft this? Well, you see, if you position yourself just right with the propulsion cannon and you send Newton packing, you can do this. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, I present you with flying in the world of Subnautica with no water. How about that? Now once on the Aurora, the exploration was actually not too difficult. I mean, this ship was meant to be explored mostly on foot, so I didn't really encounter any big obstacles. Well, at least not just yet. Extinguished some fires, jumped a few boxes, scanned a few blueprints. Ow, my knees. They're really taking a beating. At one point while cutting a steel door, I even started floating on a bleeder for some reason. Don't ask any questions, I don't even know myself. But then, oh no, disaster struck. Remember how we couldn't fit into a vent because Riley isn't in the swimming animation? Well, it appears that the exact same thing is true for doors you open with the laser cutter. Now this really sucks, because we have to get through this door to get to the prawn bay, to get to the captain's quarters, and get blueprints for the rocket. Will this be possible? Is this the thing that's going to completely break the run? Well, to find out, you're gonna have to wait for the next episode. Sorry for the cliffhanger, but I think the next one should be really exciting, where we try to get the blueprint for the rocket, and then most likely finally embark on the epic adventure down into the depths. But with that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. And if you want to talk to me while this challenge is going on, make sure to follow my socials, which you can also find down in the description, namely the Discord or my Twitter at @thelatestbacon. And with that, I'm gonna wish you all a beautiful rest of the day, and I'm gonna see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.